The Sunday sun pressed warm against my shoulder as I pulled into my mother's driveway in North Hollywood, the familiar scent of blooming gardenias spilling through the cracked car window and mingling with something savory drifting from her kitchen. Sunday dinners were a Roman family ritual, predictable as my father's complaints about the Dodgers or my sister's next scheme. Predictable, that is, until the moment I opened the front door and felt the unusual hum vibrating through the house, the kind of brittle energy that meant a surprise was waiting, and rarely a good one for me. Octavia, perfect timing. Mom's voice carried from the dining room, pitched just slightly too high the tone she reserved for Nala's triumphs. My stomach tightened. I stepped into the archway and froze. The mahogany dining table had become a stage, its surface buried under stacks of glossy professional flyers. My father, reading glasses sliding down his nose, studied one intently. Nala leaned over the table manicured finger, tapping across images with flushed excitement. Mom hovered at the edge, beaming with the pride of someone showing off a prized painting. I moved closer, my eyes catching on something that made my breath falter. There, on the bottom of one flyer, printed in bold, approved by our family's own nutrition expert, Octavia Roman, RDN. The letters carved into me like stone. My name, my credentials, my license all borrowed, displayed, marketed without my knowledge or permission. Years of practice kept my face neutral as Mom pressed a flyer into my hands. Isn't it wonderful? Look at the tagline. Nala bounced on her toes. It's my meal prep business, healthy food delivered right to your door. I already have 20 pre-orders at the gym. Her eyes shone with the kind of glory that had been applauded and rewarded since childhood. 20, I asked, my voice dry. I'm calling it Nala's plan. She continued, either oblivious to or ignoring the tension tightening my jaw. With your nutrition expertise backing it, people will pay premium prices. I've worked out all the finances already. Dad looked up, his tone final. You're not using that fancy degree anyway, Octavia. Might as well put it to work for the family. The family. Always the family. The same refrain I'd heard my whole life used to justify sacrifices that only ever seemed to fall on me. Memories clawed their way forward, me at 12 studying at the kitchen table, while everyone else cheered Nala's junior varsity cheer squad victory. My perfect report card taped to the refrigerator, quickly buried under one of Nala's crayon drawings. My college graduation summa cum laude, where my parents arrived late and left early to help Nala prepare for a date. Even my RDN license ceremony, the moment that crowned years of work, overshadowed by her community theater performance. I placed the flyer back on the table with controlled precision. Did you know that using an RDN's credentials without consent is a violation that could result in fines and penalties? For both of us, the room froze for a heartbeat. Then Dad waved it off. Nobody follows those rules anyway. Government red tape. Mom tilted her head, voice soothing but dismissive. This is what family does for each other. We support each other's dreams. My dreams have never entered the equation, I murmured too softly for anyone to acknowledge. Your sister has worked so hard on this, Mom pressed, patting Nala's shoulder. The least you could do is help her succeed. Nala's eyes welled up, her trembling lip perfectly timed. The performance I'd seen 100 times before. Family comes before career, Dad said firmly, leaving no room for argument. Mom produced a form. Honey, all we're asking is for your signature. Just allow Nala to use your credentials. It's such a small thing. A small thing that could cost me my license, my reputation, my career. I inhaled slowly. I need time to think. The sighs of disappointment came instantly scripted. Don't let your sister down again. Mom said the word again, striking like a slap. In the car alone at last, my expression cracked. Not into tears, but into something harder. Determination. That night, pacing the cramped apartment I'd chosen to afford my savings plan, I pulled up Nala's Instagram. What I found chilled me. Dozens of posts dating back 3 months, showcasing neat rows of meal prep containers branded with my name. Captions promising nutritional approval by a licensed dietitian. Comments from customers praising my protein recommendations, asking for diabetic-friendly options, thanking my oversight. 3 months. 3 months of unauthorized use, 3 months of liability building in my name. My phone buzzed, Dr. Winters, my mentor. Octavia, I saw your sister's ads. Tell me that's not your license being used without arrangement. I just found out today. The board takes credential misuse seriously. Fines start at $5,000, sometimes up to 10. Even suspension. Her tone cut sharper than I'd ever heard. You need to shut this down immediately. Panic squeezed my throat. I never agreed to any of this. The board won't care. Your license, your responsibility. She softened only slightly. Act now. When the call ended, I calculated. Nala sold her meals for $14.99, with ingredient costs of maybe $5. 200 units, weekly $3,000 in sales, $2,000 in profit, built entirely on my stolen credentials. Another buzz. Marcus, a trainer at my gym client, asked if I knew about your sister's service. Said your name's all over the packaging. What's going on? Then an email from the LA Health and Wellness Expo Committee. We'd love to feature your expertise at our upcoming event. The pieces fell together with sick clarity. Nala wasn't just selling under my name. She was leveraging my reputation to crash into the industry's front door. I drove to her apartment without warning. When she opened the door, her irritation flickered into guilt. You could have texted first, she snapped. You could have asked before using my license. I shoved past her. The kitchen was a production line, containers stacked stickers with my name waiting to be applied. I lifted one voice steel. These come off. Every mention of me gone by tomorrow. You're overreacting, she scoffed. It's fraud, I countered, and it could cost me everything. Nobody cares about technicalities. The licensing board does. I thrust the regulations at her. Fines, suspension, jail time for repeated offenses. Her eyes darted fear flashing, but the performance returned quickly. You wouldn't report your own sister. I won't have to if you fix it tonight. Hours later, I sat in her living room as she deleted posts one by one, sulking, crying, but complying. At the end, she sniffed calculation glinting. We should discuss terms. If you want to be involved, after you have permits and health department approval. Her silence said it all. She had neither. Driving home, my phone buzzed endlessly. Guilt-laden messages from my parents, texts, framing me as the villain who'd broken Nala's heart. I set the phone face down. For the first time, silence felt like freedom. The next morning, Dr. Winters arrived at my door with folders in hand. The health department approved your application, she said, eyes bright. You can operate a meal prep facility once inspected. I held the permit like a lifeline. She handed me a second folder. The expo wants you on the main stage. Ethical nutrition building trust through compliance. And then a third health code requirements for temporary food facilities. Each violation carries a fine. Arm yourself with these. Her words grounded me. Rules, structure, a path forward. That evening, Marcus texted about wholesale equipment deals. Dr. Winters reviewed my lease for a North Hollywood space. My future was taking shape brick by brick, built not on guilt or manipulation, but on my own terms. For the first time, I felt steady. My name belonged to me. The morning light broke across my kitchen table, scattering over the commercial lease spread before me. The numbers were tight, but possible deposit, first 3 months' rent, basic equipment. Years of living small saving quietly had prepared me for this moment. My phone buzzed again, with texts from Mom, each more insistent than the last, layering concern with guilt like mortar between bricks. You're breaking your sister's heart. Family helps family. Call me. I set the phone face down, the lease, more important than a plea disguised as a command. I heard my father's voice in memory. You're not using that fancy degree anyway. The words had burrowed so deep, they threatened to sprout doubts even now. But I looked at the permit Dr. Winters had placed in my hands and felt the foundation under my feet. I was using my degree. I was about to use it more fully than ever before. The doorbell startled me. Dr. Winters herself stood there, portfolio tucked under her arm, sharp eyes softening only slightly at the sight of me. "You look terrible," she said without malice, brushing past me. She laid a folder on the counter. "Inspection requirements. You're officially permitted once the facility passes." Another folder followed. The Expo, Saturday main stage. Topic: ethical nutrition. And then a third. Temporary food service codes. Read carefully. They will be your shield. I held the folders like lifelines. She studied me, saw the flicker of nerves beneath my determination. "You did the work, Octavia. This is yours." Her words landed where family praise never had, steadying me. Marcus came by later, tape measure in hand, his casual energy grounding the weight of the moment. He mapped plumbing issues, offered contacts for cheaper contractors, reminded me that allies existed outside bloodlines. When he asked if I was ready to stand opposite my family at the Expo, the certainty in my voice surprised even me. "Yes, I'm ready." That certainty hardened the next day. As I signed LLC documents in the attorney's office, Dr. Winters present her nods of approval, silent blessings. For the first time, I was building something no one could diminish, something with my name engraved on its foundation. At home, I took my framed RDN certificate from the bedroom wall, where it had hidden for years. Tomorrow, it would hang in my gym, public, undeniable. That night, I dreamed of my graduation ceremony, except in the dream no one came at all. Yet I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. The Expo loomed like a storm cloud and a sunrise combined. I arrived 3 hours early, containers labeled and organized. Booth B42 unfurled into neat rows, refrigerated samples with thermometers, visible business cards, embossed with my credentials, permits displayed proudly. Across the aisle, Nala's booth erupted in hot pink and glitter, her meal preps stacked like candy boxes, no refrigeration in sight. Mom and Dad carried boxes to her side, glancing at me only briefly. "Your sister could use help with permits," Dad muttered, expectation sharp as ever. "I'm sure she can handle it." My badge with credentials caught the fluorescent light as I pinned it higher. Inspector Davis approached my booth, clipboard ready. Temperature logs, permits, certifications, all in order. Her nod was crisp. "Excellent preparation, Ms. Roman. Not everyone takes food safety this seriously." The validation lit something warm in my chest. Then she crossed to Nala. I busied myself greeting early arrivals, but tension carried across the aisle. Davis's voice firm, Nala's defensive. Without refrigeration, without permits, Nala's booth was tagged non-compliant. An orange sign screamed what my family had refused to hear for years: rules mattered. The doors opened. Crowds flowed in, some pausing to glance between my professional setup and Nala's shuttered samples. I smiled, greeted, explained, offered tastings. A fitness influencer asked about collaborations, a gym owner about wholesale options. My seminar at 11 filled beyond capacity, the room buzzing as I spoke on compliance and ethics. Through the glass wall, I caught glimpses of my family packing Nala's booth, faces tight, no words spared for me. By afternoon, my tablet pinged endlessly with signups. Colleagues praised my presentation. Strangers asked about future partnerships. Across the aisle, silence and shame settled over what had been Nala's glittering display. That night, exhaustion mingled with exhilaration. I hadn't sought revenge. I had sought integrity. And integrity had spoken louder than tears, louder than guilt, louder than family pressure. When my parents summoned me days later, the dining room tableau mirrored the first, but inverted. Nala wept theatrically. Dad thundered about competition. Mom pleaded for unity. I laid documents on the table, Instagram screenshots, health department citations, financial analyses. Facts sliced through their narrative like glass. My name isn't community property, I said quietly. Not for anyone, especially not family. For once, silence blanketed the room. My father slumped, age heavy in his shoulders. My mother blinked, uncomprehending. Nala's tears dried into calculation. They saw me perhaps for the first time, not as the reliable one to be mined, but as someone who had claimed her own ground. I left without fanfare, documents tucked under my arm, boundaries drawn. In my car, I exhaled fully. The street was the same, but the direction was new. 4 weeks passed like a blur, each day stitched with exhaustion and triumph in equal measure. My gym stood with fresh paint fading into the comfortable scent of sanitized equipment and meal prep kitchens that smelled of cumin and basil. 123 members. The number glowed from the computer screen every morning, a reminder that legitimacy paid off more than shortcuts ever could. Mom's texts arrived like clockwork, soft probes, disguised as casual care. Just checking in, honey. Dad and I were talking about visiting your place. Would that be okay? I never responded. The boundaries still felt fragile new walls that could collapse if leaned on too soon. Marcus called me boss lady now, striding into the space with the ease of someone who believed in me before I believed in myself. Empire in the making, he teased, though the spreadsheets on the whiteboard confirmed his optimism. The Nourish and Move membership package, reborn from the ashes of Nala's failed plan, had become our bestseller not because of flashy branding, but because it was rooted in science, compliance, and trust. Have you heard from your sister? Marcus asked one morning, wiping sweat from his brow after hauling in new equipment. Indirectly. Mom says she's looking into certification programs. My shrug was indifferent, genuine. For once, her choices no longer carried weight on my shoulders. The rhythm of the gym steadied me. Early professionals slipped in before dawn, retirees sought companionship. In the quiet, mid-morning hours, young trainers learned how to build programs under my supervision. They knew me not as the responsible one in the family, but as the professional who carried authority earned through sweat and study. Therapy became my anchor. Each week with Dr. Lloyd, I practiced boundary maintenance like an exercise in mental strength. Easier than I expected, I admitted one session. Though Mom keeps testing. And your father? Radio silence. The absence of his criticism felt like peace disguised as emptiness. Nights at the gym often stretched late. At 7, when the last client left, I locked the door and flipped the sign to closed. Staff, my chosen family, gathered in the break room where I'd arranged a modest celebration. 1 month open. We raised glasses of sparkling cider, laughter bouncing off the walls. To doing things right, Dr. Winters toasted, eyes gleaming with pride. She had driven across the city just to be present. Then she unveiled something I hadn't expected, and to the future dietitians who will benefit from Octavia's scholarship fund. Heat rushed to my cheeks. It was only an idea I had scribbled in my notebook to create scholarships for students who wanted to practice ethically. To hear her announce it as fact made the dream feel closer, tangible. The room erupted with encouragement. Trainers clinked glasses, staff cheered, and for the first time in years, I felt celebrated without strings attached. No one demanded, no one diminished, no one asked me to shrink. Later, when the gym was quiet, I walked the floor alone. The wall of member transformation photos was small, but growing proof of honest work and evidence-based methods. My phone buzzed again, another text from Mom. I slid it back into my pocket unread, choosing the silence that had become my shield. As I turned off the lights, a final thought steadied me. I hadn't needed to destroy anyone to succeed. I had only needed to stop sacrificing myself. The truth, the preparation, the boundaries had done the rest. The weeks that followed felt like stepping into a life I had always imagined, but never believed could be mine. My mornings began at 5:30, unlocking the doors to a space that now thrummed with purpose. The scent of protein muffins cooling in the kitchen mingled with disinfectant from freshly wiped benches. By the time the first clients arrived, sunlight streamed through the east-facing windows, painting the walls gold. My name on the signage on the permits on the framed certificate anchored the place. No one could take it, twist it, or borrow it. Membership climbed steadily, clients referring friends who trusted the evidence-based approach I preached. Where once I had been invisible at family dinners here, I was seen daily, called by name, thanked for guidance. Every transformation photo pinned to the wall proved the value of doing things right. Mom's attempts at reconciliation trickled in, always wrapped in guilt. Your sister is devastated. She only wanted to build something for the family. Don't you think forgiveness matters more than rules? I stopped answering. Rules had given me freedom. Rules had protected me from collapse. Dad stayed silent, his absence oddly soothing. And Nala, rumor had it she was enrolling in actual certification classes. Perhaps she had finally realized shortcuts led only to collapse. Marcus kept the gym humming, his humor balancing my intensity. Empire in the making, he said often, and I began to believe it. Dr. Winters remained my compass, reminding me that compliance wasn't just about law, but about respect for clients, for science, for myself. Together, they formed the support system I had always longed for, but never received from blood ties. On the 1-month anniversary, we gathered again in the break room. Laughter spilled, sparkling cider fizzed, and for once, I allowed myself to bask. Not in borrowed light, not in someone else's shadow, but in a glow I had built from the ground up. Later, alone in the dim gym, I stood before the wall of photos. Sweat smiles, steady progress. Lives changed not by tricks or glossy flyers, but by truth. My phone buzzed with another message from Mom. I slipped it back into my pocket, turned off the lights, and smiled into the darkness. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all, but excellence. I hadn't needed to hurt anyone. The truth had spoken louder than I ever could. If you've followed Octavia's journey, take a moment to reflect on your own. Have you allowed others to define your worth, to borrow your name, to dictate your path? Or will you choose integrity even when it costs you comfort? Remember this, your boundaries are not betrayal, they are protection. Your name belongs to you. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below about a time you chose integrity over expectation. And